Yo, what's up, my Wolfpack? Elf of the pack right here. And today, in this video, I'm gonna be talking about Eden's Zero. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this as quickly as possible because I don't want this to drag on for too long. But Eden Zero is 20 almost. Eden Zero is almost 20 chapters in. The 19th chapter was released a few days ago, and man, I have to say, as much as I love Fairy Tail, I love Eden Zero so much more. I just think that the writing in Eden Zero is has far surpassed Fairy Tail's writing, because the overall story of Fairy Tail is basically you being able to do anything as long as you got your friends with you. No matter the obstacle, no matter the enemy, you can accomplish and overcome anything as long as you got your friends with you. And I love that. That's what made me love Fairy Tail. I love all the characters in Fairy Tail. Natsu Dragono is my favorite character. Y'all already know this. And I love that sense of friendship in Fairy Tail. That's what made me fall for the show. That's why I love the show so much. But if I was to be honest, as great as that concept is, it's also Fairy Tail's most major flaw, because with that kind of logic applied to every single scenario everybody in a guild was in, everybody in a Fairy Tail guild was in. That kind of a logic applied to every scenario that they found themselves in. It caused BS results. Okay, it did. There, it caused BS results. Like when an enemy will be so overwhelmingly powerful, and it would look like Natsu or Urza or whoever, or the whole guild, whatever, where it would look like the heroes would lose, they got back up simply because of the fact that they had to protect their friends. And there's no logic in that. There really is no logic in that. And that's kind of why so many people hate Fairy Tail, is because of that. Okay, that strong sense of friendship hindered the writing, and it caused BS results that ultimately made no sense. Like for Urza specifically, okay, Urza took some of the worst beatings out of every character in Fairy Tail. She took some of the worst beatings, and she always got up because she didn't want to let her comrades down. And I'm like, that's not how it's supposed to work, okay? Like, I mean, I understand not wanting to fail and not wanting to lose, but if your body is so severely beaten, you're not supposed to get back up, okay? There, there, and there was this one thing. I think it was in the Tartarus arc, right? And Urza wasn't all her bones or something broken, or wait, what the Kagura, Kyoka took away all her senses or whatever, and she was torturing Urza, and she wasn't supposed to be able to move, and she was able to move somehow because she wanted to protect her friends. It's stuff like that, it's stuff like that. So you get what I'm saying? The strong sense of Fairy Tail is what hindered the writing, but what Eden Zero, the story is so much more advanced, because while there is a strong sense of friendship in Fairy Tail, that's not the driving for it. Wait, while there is a strong sense of friendship in Eden Zero, that's not the driving force of the story like it was in Fairy Tail. Like, there hasn't really been a major villain to appear yet in Eden Zero. I mean, there's been a few minor villains here and there that Shiki and Rebecca and Wise, Pino and Happy took care of. But I'm pretty sure when we get that major villain, Hero won't apply the same concept he did with Fairy Tail to Eden Zero. Because I'm assuming that this man has learned from his mistakes, learn from what he did with Fairy Tail. Because after how many, like 500 and something chapters, I'm sure he's learned what not to do and what to do when it came to writing. Okay, and with Eating Zero, I still remember how I felt when it was first announced, and I was all like, okay, he's working on a new story. This could be pretty interesting. I love Fairy Tale. I checked out Rave Master. I like it. So I'm really wondering what he's gonna do with his new story. And he really only had like he came up with this story in like a month because I think at this point Fairy Tale was had ended for like a year or 11 months or something like that, and Eden Zero was announced legit right after um, the 11th. Eden Zero was announced right after the 11th month of Fairy Tale's ending, so I'm like, this man only had like a month of rest. He really. I'm thinking Eden Zero was something he's been thinking out for a long time, which is maybe why he rushed the ending of Fairy Tale. I don't know. That's what I think because he came out with this story legit right out the gate. It wasn't even a whole year yet, but um, I still remember how I felt with when Eden Zero was announced. Okay, because he released this cover art, and everybody and their mothers attacked Hero because of the Caros. Oh my god! Because of the characters on the cover art look similar to characters in Fairy Tale. Okay, you have Happy, you have Rebecca who looks like Lucy, you have Shiki who looks like Natsu in Gray, you have Wise who looks like Sting, and just a lot of characters that resembled characters from fairy tales. What people were really mad about was Hero carrying Happy over from Fairy Tale, but he carried Plu over from Rave Master to Fairy Tale, and nobody cared about that. And then he carried Plu from Fairy Tale to Eden Zero, and people people weren't making for some reason people made a big deal about Happy but not Plu. Whatever, but so people were really mad about that. The characters on the cover art resembling Fairy Tale characters, but and what really also what else what really oh my god, I can't talk today. And what else had people really mad about Eden Zero in its early stages was that Hero kept making references to Fairy Tale in the manga. It was like the first four chapters. It was filled with references to Fairy Tale. Okay, they had characters from Fairy Tale doing little cameos in the background. All right, you had Macau, you had Warren, Max, you had Team Shadow Gear, Levy, Jet, and Droy, and you had Natsu and Lucy. So that's like seven characters from Fairy Tale, and people really hated Eden Zero was supposed to be. People was all like, if Eden Zero is supposed to be this new story, why are Fairy Tale characters appearing in the background? Because people already hated the fact that the characters in Eden Zero resembled characters in Fairy Tale so much. So what really created this whole negative energy was characters from Fairy Tale appearing in Eden Zero, and this really sent like a wave of hate towards Zero. And I'm like, a part of me was like, y'all need to chill out, calm down a little bit. But another part of me was like, I kind of understand where they're coming from because if this is really supposed to be a new story with characters already resembling Fairy Tale characters, I don't want to see actual Fairy Tale characters in the manga either. And and what kind of irritated me about this, what kind of irritated me about this was that because of Hero was including Fairy Tale characters in Eden Zero in the background, people started coming up with all these weird theories like Eden Zero isn't actually a different story. It's Fairy Tale except 50 years into the future. And I'm like, where did you get 50 years from? That's such a random number. Where did you get 50 years from? Oh, they're still in Earthland. It's just 50 years into the future. I'm like, what? They're in a whole completely different universe. And yet, somehow, magically, it's still Fairy Tale were still in Earth. Like there was just no logic behind the theory. I hated it. I hated all of those theories that were going around. And there was this other theory that Shiki was Shiki and Rebecca. Okay, the main female character and the main male character. They were Natsu and Lucy's kids, which made absolutely no sense. It's like they completely ignored Shiki's background because he was the only human on a planet filled with a robot. He was the only human on a planet filled with robots, and it's like if he was Natsu and Lucy's child, why would he be there alone? Uh, Why would he be there alone? I'm not gonna spoil the story for you guys. I want you guys to check it out. But it's like that theory specifically didn't make any sense. And Rebecca is basically an orphan. We don't know what happened to her parents. We got a little background on her and Happy. They were both orphans on Blue Garden, and they found each other and they became friends. I'm not gonna say anything more than that because you guys should check it out for yourself. But it's like Rebecca and Shiki being Natsu and Lucy's kids was the worst theory I've ever heard of in my life because it made no sense logically. It made no sense because first of all, Hiro never even drew a son for Natsu and Lucy. He drew a daughter and her name was Nashi, but that's it. And that's something else that I hated, man, during these early stages of Eden Zero because of all these ridiculous theories. God, I hate it. I hated it so much. But that was just like the first three chapters. That was just like the first four chapters. I mean, what that created all this hate and all of these stupid theories, right? But in the fourth chapter, this is where Natsu and Lucy appeared. In the first three chapters, all the other characters that I mentioned appeared. In the fourth chapter, this is where Natsu and Lucy appeared, and this is what really made people angry, right? I personally didn't mind this, but this is what really made people angry, okay? Um, Shiki was talking to Rebecca, all right? And he was all like, I thought being in a guild because when Rebecca took Shiki off the planet that he was on originally, and he went to her planet, Blue Garden, and because she's a part of this adventurous guild called Shooting Starlight, she had Shiki be enrolled into that guild, and basically in this guild, not like Fairy Tale. You know how Fairy Tales is like a whole, like this whole big loving family. Well, Shooting Starlight is filled with people, but they're all looking out for themselves, and they basically were all making fun of Shiki because he was all like, because I've met this goddess, this goddess like being, because they have this goddess like being that they all look up to and they all worship, and Shiki was all like, oh, I met her before, and they all started, and all the other members of Shooting Starlight started making fun of Shiki, and they was all like, oh, you met Mother, yeah, right. You was such a loser. And Shiki was all like, I know what you guys are saying, you want to be friends, right? Because Shiki has this thing where he wants to make 100 friends, and so far in the manga he only has like 5. But he was all like, "You guys want to be friends with me, right?" And he was, and everybody else was all like, "Go be friends with your mom." Yeah, man. So Shooting Starlight is filled with people that are only looking out for themselves. So this guild is not like a big happy family like Fairy Tale. And so Shiki was talking to Rebecca, and he said, I thought being in the guild was like being in a big happy family that you're supposed to care about each other. And Rebecca was all like, wasn't there a manga like that? So Hero basically referenced Fairy Tale by calling it a manga in Eden Zero. And a lot of people really hated that because they got tired of Fairy Tale being mentioned. And when Hero basically broke the fourth wall and said Fairy Tale was a manga in Eden Zero, people really got upset by that. I personally loved it because when that happened, all of those ridiculous theories about Eden Zero being Fairy Tale in the future, and Shiki and Rebecca being Natsu and Lucy's daughter, all of those stupid theories ended, and I was like, thank the Lord, thank you, Hero. You're so smart, man. You're so smart. Thank you. So I personally love that. But after that chapter, the story really took off. All right, we had we got all this cool stuff that had been introduced. Okay, we got where we're finding more. We're finding out more about Ether Gear. Okay, we're going to different planets. We're currently in this whole slave organization arc. Okay, we found out that there's this time eater monster that's going around stealing the time of planets, which is basically killing said planet. And we're being introduced to all these cool characters. And I think that the writing, and I'm not the only person that feels this way, the writing is just so far ahead of Fairy Tail's writing. It's a science fiction space time travel type of story, and it's so far ahead of Fairy Tail in terms of writing. I personally think that the characters that we've been introduced to so far are better than a lot of characters we met in Fairy Tail. Okay, and yeah, man, the story is really great so far. I highly recommend it to you guys if you haven't checked it out. And the weird thing is, you know how I said Natsu Dragonel is my favorite character in Fairy Tail, and it's weird because Shiki is kind of like Natsu. I mean, well, Shiki is based off Natsu, obviously, but it's weird because it feels weird to me because I actually like Shiki more than Natsu. Maybe it's because of the fact that Shiki's not an idiot. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I love Natsu, but I love Shiki so much more. I don't know why, honestly. And I like Rebecca. I personally like Rebecca a lot. I like Rebecca more than I like Lucy in Fairy Tail. You know. Um, but yeah, man. Let me see. What else I wanted to say? And Shiki got this whole Shiki. You know how I mentioned Ether Gear? Ether Gear is basically magic. It's basically magic. That's what it is. Um, and Shiki got gravity magic, and at first I'm like, it's kind of like Natsu's fire. But the more like Shiki's did all this crazy stuff with his gravity magic, I'm like, this is better than Natsu's fire. And it's weird, man, liking Shiki more than Natsu because he's kind of, I don't want to say he's a Natsu copy. He was inspired by Natsu, basically, but it's a weird liking someone who's just like Natsu more than Natsu. It's not so much like, it's not as weird liking Rebecca more than Lucy because Rebecca and Lucy essentially are two different characters as a whole. You can easily tell the difference between Rebecca and Lucy. So I don't have that much of a problem accepting that. But yeah, man. But oh god, this video is almost 20 minutes. I said I wanted this video to be short. It's almost a 30-minute freaking video. Jesus Christ. I gotta learn how to talk faster. Anyway, that's really all I wanted to say, man. Um, yeah, man. I think Eden Zero is better than. I think the first 19 chapters of Eden Zero are better than the 5 million chapters of Fairy Tail. I think the writing is just so much more advanced, man. It's surpasses Fairy Tail completely, at least in my opinion. I hope Hero continues with his godlike writing in this manga. I hope he doesn't really add any power or friendship crap like he did in Fairy Tail because so far the characters are getting out of problems with legit skills. They're not getting out of problems with simply because of I gotta save my friend. Stay away from my friend. But oh god, it's almost 20 minutes. But yeah, man, I think just because simply because of that alone, Eden Zero is better than Fairy Tail, and it's so freaking cool, man. Because and I really can't wait for this manga to get an. It probably won't get an anime adaptation for like another year, but when it finally does happen, best believe I'm gonna be getting back in front of the screen and was all like, "This anime is freaking sick. Let's go!" Oh god. You know, someone said when Eden Zero gets an anime adaptation, they want Todd Haberkorn and Jeremy Lee, Jeremy Lee. I don't know how to say her name, to do the English dub for Shiki and Rebecca, and I'm like, uh, if they don't sound too much like Anatsu and Lucy, then I'll be fine with it. But I kind of want some new people to do the voice acting for Eden Zero, not people from Fairy Tail. But yeah, man, that's basically it. That's all I had to say. I'm not gonna keep this video going on any longer. Peace out, my Wolfpack. Your Alpha has spoken.